let's cut to it because somebody has got some explaining to do. I'm going to throw it really quickly to KD himself. Let's hear about that ass whipping viewed by 8.8 million fans around the world.
Well, quite simply, that's what it was. Um, I hate to say it. What I watched Saturday was just a continuation of the last 2 years of Alabama football, with the exception of having a Heisman winning quarterback on your team. That's what we would have looked like last year or the year before without our guys in there. Jalen Milrow, I'm not going to place all the blame on him. He threw a couple terrible picks. A lot of blame goes on the coaching staff, especially offensive the coordinator, Tommy Reese. I thought the game plan was just horrible. We've seen what Jalen Milrow did well during the game. He throws a beautiful deep ball accurately, and he runs. I seen one design quarterback run the entire game, and a bunch of short intermediate passes that I wasn't, sure that he could hit. He looked a lot better against the scrub team we played in game one than the Texas, of course. And it's just it hurts my heart to say this, but I mean the Alabama football dynasty is dead right now. We're not a good football team. I mean we're a top 15 football team. That's not good enough. I mean that's just not good enough. And I was kind of uh, I guess a good word for it was goaded into believing that we were getting back to dominating on the line of scrimmage and running the football, and we got our ass kicked for 60 minutes on both lines of scrimmage, and it didn't look particularly fair. So I don't know what's going on with Alabama's strength and conditioning. I don't, we had a couple young guys starting on the line, which is fair, and but I just didn't see any explosive playmakers on wide, at the wide receiver spot again. I mean, we got a couple fast guys, but I don't know that any of them's really explosive. Running game, I think we did a good job of running the ball in the first half until Texas figured out that that's all we were going to be able to do consistently, and then they stopped that, and we ended up averaging 3 point something yards a carry, and just wasn't good. And we've got I guess the good news is we're 0-0 in the SEC. Everything's still in front of Alabama. They're gonna have to improve on a lot of stuff to get past. You know, even though Texas A&M lost, they're gonna have to improve on a lot of stuff to get past Texas A&M on the road and LSU, and the upper echelon of the SEC West is going to be brutal this year. But I did read today. I don't know how much truth is this, but I did see today that it's very possible we could see another quarterback in this next game against South Florida, and it's going to be the Buchner kid from Notre Dame. I don't know if he'll get the start, but I think he's going to get a good amount of playing time, and we'll see how it goes, man. But what can I say? Hats off to Texas Longhorns. They came to play. Sark out coached our entire coaching staff, made them all look silly, and that was a good win for Texas and Alabama.
Let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question. What do you think is the main contributor? I mean, to the state, the team, not just
Well,
what happened Saturday,
and
but the state of
I,
the
I,
team.
I've thought about that, over the course of the last couple years, and seemingly this year as well. One, I don't think we have an elite coaching staff anymore. I think Saban as a head guy can still get it done with the best of them, but I look at our coordinators and I see a bunch of guys that I don't know how many other teams in the country want them on the team coaching, and
Wow.
also, I'm a firm believer. I don't care if Nick Saban win another ball game for the next 5 years. I think he deserves to be able to retire any way he chooses at Alabama. But he's
No
been
doubt.
this is going on 16 years, and eventually your message gets stale. I don't care who you are. The best coaches that have ever coached this game, they all took a decline. I don't know. I'm not trying to bring any shock jock value into this, but eventually, everything's going to have to be reevaluated. So, yeah, I
Uh
just
oh. Uh oh.
not used to seeing in Nick Saban's tenure our offensive and defensive lines just get dominated. I mean, we got 0 sacks that game. We had maybe 5 or 6 quarterback hurries, and that was it. I mean, we cannot get to the quarterback, and I don't know why. I mean, if you look at our recruiting, I mean, we've got studs everywhere, and so that leads me, development is not where it should be. And if I would call for one coach on Alabama staff to get fired, it would be Freddie Roach. And he's an Alabama guy. He's an all SEC linebacker, played at Alabama. But our defensive line, since he has taken that position over, it's terrible, and it's not getting any better.
Wow. Were you gonna say something, Jared?
I got a lot to say on this one.
I was going to throw something in there. Well, number one, that's the most level-headed breakdown from any Alabama fan that I've heard. That's the most accurate one I've heard. And but my only question is, what is the main cause for, throughout Saban's tenure, we've never seen them so penalized. So what do you think is making them?
I don't know. I mean, we had 9 penalties for 90 yards. That's just insane. But again, that's just a continuation of all the other big games Alabama's been in the last 2 years. So I don't really know. I mean, and it's a discipline thing. I don't want to blame it on NIL or the transfer portal and not being able to discipline kids correctly, because you don't see Texas getting that many penalties. You don't see Kirby Smart's teams getting that many penalties. So I can't blame it on that if all these other teams that are in the top 5 every year don't have the same issue. I just don't know.
Well, go ahead, Jared.
I was going to say it seems to me like it's almost like it's an attitude problem. And it's not that there's bad attitudes. It's just the Alabama attitude is not there anymore. I don't know if y'all saw the same play. That number 32 for Alabama, I mean, he got pushed 15 yards after the play into the middle of the pile, and nobody said a word.
Yeah,
man. If that would have been Reuben Foster or somebody out there, he would have stabbed somebody.
Yeah,
literally.
Exactly.
There's no fire. Like, I don't see. Yeah. Dallas Turner was supposed to be that guy this year and have that dog and that fire. And if you told me that he was injured the whole game and didn't even play, I believe you. I never saw him.
And that's another thing. When Scott Cochran left Alabama, I did not think that would be a big loss. But the more since he's left, the dog in our team has left. You're right. There's no. I want to see a personal foul from a middle linebacker every once in a while, because I want to see them nasty, and I just don't see it, and it bothers me. But I don't know. Like I said, and and I'm trying not to overreact to this loss, because I legitimately think Texas is a top 3 team this year.
Absolutely,
they looked phenomenal.
Playoff,
and if Alabama's, I don't think we won't play a harder team than Texas the rest of the regular season. So, we'll see how the season shapes up. But I don't want to get off the Jalen Milroe train. I still like some of the things I've seen from him, and I got off the Jalen Hurts train way early, and he turned out to be a superstar. But but the game plan has to address the good parts of what Jalen can do, and none of what I seen Saturday did.
Just one more thing on this game. It's really interesting to hear you talk about this game the way that you are, because when you look at the score, it was a 10-point game. Yeah. If you had a bunch of penalties, that many penalties, and you had below pars quarterback play, you only lost by 10. I think people should be a little scared.
Well, Alabama had its chances to go up. We had a couple TDs called back. Jalen Milroe threw a TD to the other team. And it was I think we had the lead pretty late in the fourth quarter, and then Texas just kind of started to manhandle us a little bit. We couldn't stop anything. So, last thing I want to address too is Nick Saban again. Like I said, I absolutely believe, not just because I'm an Alabama fan, he is the GOAT of all of college coaches,
no doubt.
But after the game, I heard him say this terrible word that I just don't like. I think he said anxiety again. These players are having anxiety. what are you having anxiety about? I mean, that's an excuse to me. You're paid to play college football. Just go out there and play. Stop using. I just can't picture 2010 Nick Saban talking about anxiety in his players.
Yeah, I think these coaches sometimes use
And-
poor word choice.
Yeah, now I'm getting a little fired up too, because it's like so I just became a granddaddy a year ago, and let me tell you something. Being a granddad, that changes your whole mentality. It makes you softer inside. It makes you in your feelings a little bit more, And since Saban, maybe it's the grandkids. Maybe Saban's, just become softer, and that's just who he is now. So I don't know.
And then one last thing on this, I do think the NIL and the portal is playing into this, and I think that Nick Saban knew that it was going to play into it. When it first came out, he had a lot to say about the portal, but he's kind of softened it because you don't want to turn off a whole recruiting channel as the portal is.
Right.
So I do believe that some of his propaganda against that, because to the kids it sounds like you don't want me to make money. You want all the control. I think that has been some critical mistakes made by Saban. What do you think?
I don't think it's so much mistake. I agree with everything he said about the NIL. The only thing I'm okay with the NIL. I think they have to do something about the transfer portal. You can't just let these kids transfer at the drop of a hat for any reason whatsoever. I understand you're not trying to control their lives, but you're giving them a scholarship. You're providing them with the best meals in the world, the best medical care in the world. These kids, I mean, they're spoiled brats when it comes to this transfer portal, and that's a lot of the you can't really discipline. Saban can't holler or smack somebody on the ass like he did AJ McCarron back in 2010. He can't do that, or they'll be in the portal next week playing for Auburn, and that's just the truth.
And that's the edge I was talking about that Saban lost.
Yeah, you didn't seem to mind the portal last year when you got Jahmyr Gibbs. Just saying, I mean that'll soften your portal take a little bit when you pick up Jahmyr Gibbs.
Well, I mean, it's true, but look, I mean, you say that, and I'm going to sound like a typical Alabama fan when I say this. I didn't care less if we picked up Gibbs or not. We had other capable guys. We're not Mississippi State where we're begging for a great running back to come help us out. We've recruited at the highest level possible. So
that was a very Alabama fan answer.
It's the truth.
Speak the truth. What do you say, Dalton?
Wow. I got to give it to you, KD. That was the, like Dylan said, one of the most honest. And I mean, you told it just like it was. We all saw it. We might have another Alabama fan in this show that wouldn't agree with what you said.
Yeah.
But he is not here tonight. We have heard that
Dang.
he is missing in action. So maybe we can get him back
stranded in
next week.
Panama City Beach somewhere.
Yeah, I don't blame him. The place I'd go to after something like that would be the beach. Margaritaville would definitely cure something like that.